Step forward, please.
Kristen Clanton and her husband Mark are suing antique limo business owner Frank Radoazzo for causing them to be late for their own wedding and for ruining her dress.
Mrs. Clanton, you retained the defendant's limousine company to provide transportation for you and your husband for your wedding, and claimed that because of problems that developed with the cars, you were late for your own wedding, your dress got ruined because the cars broke down. All in all, it was a terrible day, and you want some compensation. He says he provided the best service that he could for you under the circumstances, and there were problems with the cars. The problems were really your fault because you insisted upon using the antique cars rather than regular cars. Is that right?
That's true.
Okay. How did you find this company?
I actually had a bridal fair. They had given me a flyer.
Can I see the flyer, please?
Sure can.
Because a lot of this has to do with the fact that you and your husband selected antique cars to use to take you to your wedding. The defendant says that because of weather conditions that existed over the week or so prior to the wedding, he had suggested to you that it would not be a good idea to use these antique cars, but he would send other cars, and you insisted on using the antique cars. That's what he said.
Yes.
All right. When did the Clantons contact you about using your antique cars?
On May 20th in the year 2001.
And when was the wedding scheduled?
June 15th, 2002.
And when they contacted you, they told you that they wanted to use the antique cars?
That's correct.
And told them what the cost was?
Correct.
Did you tell them anything else?
The discussion at that time was basically the address, what's on the contract.
Can I see the contract, please?
When we originally...
Just a minute. So it's clear that they specified a Rolls-Royce with leather seats.
Correct.
And there was nothing in this contract that indicated that there was anything wrong with this car that prevented it from being used in inclement weather.
Other than the fact is, if the question was, if there were a problem with the vehicle,
yes,
would we have a backup type of vehicle under those conditions so that they wouldn't be without a car?
And what did you say?
And I told her, yes, that would be true.
What kind of backup vehicle did you have?
We have additional Rolls-Royces.
Good. Oh.
Plus limousines.
So you could have sent them, under the contract, another Rolls-Royce.
Which we did do.
Which also broke down.
Both cars did.
Both cars broke down.
Correct.
Okay. Why don't you tell me about the travails? You're at home waiting for the car to pick you up, and what happened?
I'm at home getting ready. I have the whole bridal party at the house. I get the phone call from Mr. Radoazzo. Basically, he was calling me to tell me that the car that I rented with him was not going to run.
What did he say?
He basically just told me that it was raining out and that the car wasn't going to run well. I rented this car for the day of my wedding a year in advance. You know, this is part of a dream that I had. I wanted an old-fashioned car for the day of my wedding. And
so he called and told you the car was not going to run well.
Right.
What did you say?
I was basically in shock, to be honest with you. I thought it was a joke. I thought somebody was calling me. It was like 3 hours before I was going to get married. I thought it was going to be a joke.
So, what did you say?
Basically, we hung up. I mean, he told me that the car wasn't going to run well.
What did you say, Miss Clanton? I'm asking you, what did you say to him? You didn't just hang up. He says the car's not going to run well. You're home. You're going to say you're going to send another car. You say you better send that car anyway. What did you say to him?
I basically just told him to send a car to get me to my wedding.
So did he send a car?
Yes, he did.
What time is the car supposed to pick you up?
4:30.
What time did the car pick you up?
4:30.
What happened when the car picked you up?
The vehicle that showed up was not the vehicle that I rented. It was another old-fashioned car.
Was it a Rolls-Royce?
I believe so.
Old or new?
It was older. It wasn't freshly painted. It was disgusting.
What happened on the way to the church?
Well, we live probably about a mile from the highway. We barely even made it to the highway. The car stalled before we even got onto the on-ramp. My mother was in the front. I was in the back with my brother, and basically the car was stalled out. We finally got it started. I was in tears. I was very upset.
What time did you get there?
Definitely late. That car was backfiring, so finally I talked the driver into getting us a backup car. So finally, around the corner from the church, they had another car meet us, which I had to get out in the rain, get into the other vehicle, and we were only about maybe a couple blocks from the church, so we were late. The ceremony was at 5:30, and we were definitely at least 10 minutes late.
Now, from there you were going to the reception.
Right.
Which car did you get into to go to the reception?
A second car showed up, still not the car that we booked.
But another Rolls-Royce?
Yes.
And what happened with that car?
We probably got almost halfway there. On the side of the highway, major highway, we break down again. So we had to get out of the vehicle. We were on the side of the road in the pouring rain, I was getting mud splashed up on my gown.
Why did you have to get out?
We had to get out and try to get somebody to drive us.
Well, you didn't have to do that. You have a driver there for that. What?
The car itself, when it broke down on the side of the road, the photographer was behind us in a caravan. So I got out of the car and I flagged down the caravan. So I had to get her out of the car, get her in the caravan.
Okay, but she wasn't outside trying to flag down the car.
No, but getting her out of the car is where the dress started. I don't know how to hold the dress up. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to that.
You better figure it out.
You know, and then when we got to the church, I had no idea any of this was going on at all. And I'm thinking my wife left me before I got married, but I don't know what's going on. And the car shows up, and it's about 15 minutes later than we were supposed to start the wedding.
We're past the wedding. Get it together, Mr. Clanton. We're at the reception. You already got married. Now you're on your way from the church to the reception.
And we got stuck on the side of the road.
That's where we're up to.
Yep, and I had to
And
get
you
her out
gave me a very plausible explanation for the question that I asked. Don't volunteer anything else. Answer only questions posed.
Okay.
You won't get into any trouble that way. That's very good advice for a young married person. Don't volunteer any information. Do you understand?
Oh, absolutely.
Perfect. Mr. Radowazo, sounds to me like you ought to get rid of your fleet of Rolls Royces, sir, and stop advertising them. They don't run.
Your Honor, the cars are 40 years old plus.
Problem is that you understand that some people really love the idea of getting married in one of these old cars. You have other cars in your fleet. I'm sure you have much newer limousines in your fleet. Fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
But when you advertise with the white Rolls Royce because that's sort of a dream that lots of young people have, and older people have when they get married, of being married and using one of these cars, elegant cars, to get them to and from. And what I'm telling you is that it sounds to me as if at least 3 cars in your fleet don't run if it's damp.
May I explain?
Yeah.
Okay. I started to call their home on the 13th of June.
That's a lie.
I spoke.
What did I tell you about volunteering? Don't you understand? Go ahead, sir.
I spoke to her father, I believe it was, and I explained that we were in conditions that just don't normally happen. We had 50-degree temperatures with rain, thunderstorms, fog. And I wanted to switch them to a limousine at that time. That was the 13th. I called again on the 14th and again tried to get them to go into a limousine. I called the morning of the wedding and the bride hung up on me and left me no alternative but to send the car.
You don't understand what I'm saying to you, Mr. Radowazo. What I'm saying to you is you ought to get rid of this fleet of Rolls Royces that are 40 years old because, sir, they don't run well and you should stop advertising them. Now, if in the contract you said if you want Rolls Royces, you can only use them in good weather because in bad weather they don't run well, and you make them aware of that, well, then they've been forewarned.
Well, they asked me at the time that we went into the agreement, what would happen if you had a problem with this car? And I explained to them.
Yeah, that's right. If you had a problem with that car, then you send another Rolls Royce. That's what the agreement was. That's not your problem, Mr. Radowazo. Your problem is you had information that your customer didn't have. And the information that you had at the time you entered into this contract was that your fleet of Rolls Royces do not run well in certain kinds of weather. And that information you had to share with them because you knew that there was an inherent defect in the product that you were offering to them, and that inherent defect was that it doesn't go in the rain. Then they were aware of it. And then they could have made a choice. They're not aware of it. And so you are responsible. You're not responsible for everything that they think you're responsible for ruining their day. But you are responsible for giving them back their money. They didn't get what they bargained for. Let me see pictures of your wedding dress.
I have a picture of us getting out of the minivan on the side of the highway. I didn't know that we were going to run into this problem, so somebody had a job to take my gown to the cleaner. So I do have the cleaner's bill and also a note from the cleaner stating that he couldn't get the...
Is this getting you out of the photographer's van?
Yes.
I don't see any stains on the dress. If your wedding dress is all covered with mud, then you must have a picture from your wedding showing me that the wedding dress, you say in your complaint, is covered with mud. I don't see it in this picture. Mr. Radowazo, stop advertising these cars, or at least modify your contract to provide that these cars do not run in the rain, they do not run in the damp, they do not run in the wet, And if somebody wishes to rent them on that basis, with the understanding that unless the weather is crystal clear and perfect, they're not going to run, and they should have a substitute car, I think you're going to be faced with these lawsuits all the time. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $395. That's
I feel bad that the day was not what it was supposed to be.
I probably would have never rented the vehicle if this was going to be a problem.
Hopefully in the future we'll do a better job.
Hired driver Rafael Valley is suing his son, 27-year-old truck driver Jose Valley, and his daughter-in-law, 22-year-old customer service rep Cynthia Valley. Rafael says the couple owes for a loan to bail Jose out of jail.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 34 on the calendar in the matter of Valley versus Valley.
Thank you, Bert.
Quite welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Having a senior moment there,
Having a
darling?
senior moment, Judge.
Get used to it. Mr. Valley, the defendant is your son,
Yes, ma'am.
and the co-defendant is your daughter-in-law.
Yes, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, sir, your son was arrested sometime this
August.
year. Last year.
Last year.
And you made an arrangement with your daughter-in-law for a loan for his bail.
Yes.
Well, your daughter-in-law says it has nothing to do with her. Your son says he never made an arrangement with you to pay you back. As far as he was concerned, this was a gift because you're his father. Is that right, sir?
Yes, how can you sue your own sperm?
I didn't ask you for any other information other than either a yes or a no. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Don't play cute with me. Mr. Valley, how many times has your son been arrested? Only once, is that right?
Once or twice.
Once or twice. Who called you or contacted you to post his bail?
My wife and Cindy came over, told me,
Is this your wife?
yes, ma'am.
Step up, please.
Then my son tried to hang himself.
Just a minute. Your wife and Cindy, that's
Yes,
your
Your
daughter-in-law,
Honor.
came to your house?
Yes.
Do you live with your wife?
No, ma'am.
Did you come to Mr. Valley's home and have a discussion with him about his son being in jail?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
When was that?
August.
8/16.
And did you come with your daughter-in-law?
Well, she wasn't my daughter-in-law then, but we did go together because we didn't have enough money on our own.
How did it come to pass that you came to your husband's house and asked him for money?
Well, me and my husband have always had an arrangement. If anything was to happen to the kids, we'd always get in touch with one another. Now, this was a real bad predicament of where my son was in jail, and I went to my husband, 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
With Cynthia?
Yes. And I spoke with my husband, and I says to him, you know, come on, we got to help him. We always helped every one of our kids, all the time. And he gave us $1,000.
Just a minute. Were you present when Cindy had a discussion with him about paying back this money?
Yes.
Tell me about the discussion.
She said that after the trial was over or whatever, that she would pay him back whatever she could. And, you know, we were expecting the money back.
She told him that.
Yes.
Now, at that time, your husband gave you said $1,000.
Right.
How much was the bail?
$4,600. I provided $1,500, and then my husband called me, I'd say about 6 o'clock, and he left a message on my voicemail, and he said that he had $500 more to give us. So he said, come down and get it. I went and got it, and then we put all the money together. Nobody else put up any money except me, my husband, and Cindy.
Cindy put up some money, too.
Yes, she did.
And you put up $1,500?
I put up 15 of my own, yes.
Did you ever get that back?
No.
How come?
Well, for the first thing, my son was living in my home for a whole year. Never had him pay rent, never had him buy food until the last 2 months. Last 2 months, I became unemployed. I had thyroid surgery, so they would pay me $25 a week, and my son was merrily taking it off the bill. I says, why is he doing that? This is something that I needed for my home, you know, for my own salvation.
This was before he got arrested?
No, this is after he was
After he got arrested?
Yeah.
Okay. I got it now. So he was paying you off, in his mind, for the bail by deducting some money?
Right. But he never gave anything to my husband.
Okay. Now, when did you get married?
February 22nd.
Well, Mr. Valley, you don't owe your father anything.
Thank you.
She does. Because in order to create a loan, you have to have an agreement with the person, Mr. Valley.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you called your son and said, do you want me to loan you this money? And he said yes, then you do it. But she said, I'll pay you back, right?
No.
Yes, you did. I was watching your face as they were speaking. Yes, you did. You said, I'll pay you back what I can.
No. I never even spoke to him. He gave the money to Paula Valley, and from Paula Valley went to the bail bond lady.
You were present with her in the house.
No, it wasn't at the house. She met him in the corner store, and I stood in the car.
And you were never there?
I was in the car.
You never spoke to him?
Never. That was the first
Miss
time I
Valley.
ever seen him.
No, you did speak with him, Cindy. You
Miss
even
Valley.
said to him. You even said
No,
to him,
tell me.
thank you.
I never
Tell me.
spoke to him.
Yes, you
Never.
did. Yes, you did.
Cindy, please.
Miss Valley,
Don't-
you don't have to, don't speak. There's no question in my mind that she said, I'll pay you back. Look at her face. I'm looking at her face. There's no question in my mind. She may not have meant it. She may have meant he'll pay you back.
Well, that's what she said to him later, all right? In the end of March, he come over the house. And
Who did?
My husband. And he went face to face with her. Now, my son was in the back washing his car, and Cindy was in the front, and she was coming down the stairs. I said nothing. My husband said to her, he said, hey, when are you going to pay me back? I have to go see my sister. And she says, well, you'll have to take that up with my husband. Hello? They just got married, you know? I mean, give me a break.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
This young lady was babysitting for you? You like her?
Not anymore. I know she stole the money.
If I can't trust her with cash in my house, how can I trust her with my kids?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Raphael Valley says his son and his daughter-in-law, Jose and Cynthia Valley, owe for a loan to bail Jose out of jail.
There isn't a question in my mind that Mrs. Valley, the junior Mrs. Valley, made an agreement with your husband to pay you back the bail, sir. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
That has nothing to do with your son. Of course, it's his moral responsibility, but he could not create a contract with you because he didn't speak to you. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500 against the co-defendant. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Just get my money back. It was still my son.
Never take money from family.
You needed somebody money? Write it down first.
It's all about greed,
It's been hard.
and I hope he's happy now.
He didn't like it, but it had to be done.
I just don't understand how you could sue your own son. I mean, something that you made.
I hate to tell my son, but he's going to be sued again, this time by his mother for a little bit more.
They're crazy and they need mental help.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of DeQuilla versus Roden, step forward, please.
20-year-old retail manager John DeQuilla is suing his ex-fiancée, 20-year-old assistant office manager Dawn Roden, for the return of an engagement ring. Dawn says they were never engaged.
Mr. DeQuilla, you are suing for the return of an engagement ring that you claim that you gave to the defendant.
Yes.
Let me hear about it.
Well, Dawn and I were originally together back in September of '99, and we were together until September 17th of 2000. She had gotten married after that, and she was having marital problems around the time of March of 2002, and she came to me. We talked, we were friends for a while. We started seeing each other again March 24th of 2002, and around the time about April 1st, I had proposed to her, and she
was
accepted.
still married at the time.
Yeah, she was. She was going through a divorce.
She wasn't living with her husband.
No, she was not. She was separated. She was living with her grandparents in Lynbrook. I proposed to her. She had accepted. The next day, we had gone to look at rings. We were just going to look, and she eventually talked me into getting an engagement ring. And I purchased the engagement ring and gave it to her that day.
On April 1st?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We were together for about almost 2 months. I was making plans on moving in. I was helping clean up the basement, get everything set up so we can move together. She was going through a custody battle, and I'd say about the second week in May, we'd gotten into a fight. She did throw the ring into my face, and I gave it back to another friend of hers. They called me back about 10 minutes later. They picked me up. We went out. By the end of the night, everything was fine. She had the ring on her finger again, and everything was, we were fine. Not too long afterwards, I had gotten a text message saying, don't take this the wrong way. Don't call me. I'll call you. I need some time to think. I gave her about a day or so. I called her back. She said she wanted to see other people. I said, you know, I'll live with her decision. I just wanted my ring back then. And we made an agreement that on our next class, she was going to give me the ring back.
What kind of class?
It was for financial services that we were doing for licenses.
You were taking this class together?
Yes. We were business partners at the time. And first time she said that she had forgotten the ring. So I said, just bring it to me on our next meeting. And the day of that meeting came, she never came. I called her cell phone. Her friend Janine had picked up the phone, said that Dawn was not there. I got a call later back that night saying that the ring was stolen along with her friend's car.
Where did you get the call from?
Dawn. Dawn called me back later that night.
That the ring was stolen?
Yes.
How was it stolen?
The ring was never stolen, Your Honor. There was no ring. Me and my husband had gone and separated. Me and John did remain friends, and that was around March 16th was the day I had separated from my husband. On May 8th, it was a Wednesday night, me and my friend, we went to the meeting in Lindenhurst where he had another one of his friends with him.
What kind of meeting?
It was the meeting for the financial services. It was one of those meetings. We had went back to his house, and he had to drop his friends off at the mall, so we all met back at his house. He then told me that he was going to hang out with us, and then all of a sudden he was saying that he was tired, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're tired, you know, whatever, you know, go inside. And he was like, oh, okay. He's like, but first, before I go inside, I want to show you something. He took
And what date was this?
This was on May 8th.
Go ahead.
He then proceeded to take a box out and hand me a ring. I said, what is this? He's like, I want to marry you. And I said, how can I marry you when I'm not even divorced yet? I was still very upset that me and my husband were separated, and I then threw the ring at him right after I had made a 911 call because he would not get out of my car. And my friend and I both heard the ring fall off of his chest where it had landed and hit the ground.
But she was wearing it later that night, though. That's the odd part.
And after the fact of that, we eventually talked. I hadn't seen him with the ring the rest of the night, and we went to the karaoke bar backstage, which is located in Woodmere, New York. He then pulled my friend Janine aside, and he had told her everything that happened and how he couldn't find the ring.
Do you have the sales slip for the ring?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please? So you say that he gave you this ring on May 8th.
Yes.
He says he gave you the ring on April 1st.
Yes, and we called
Just a second.
Okay.
Well, he certainly bought it on April 1st.
May I say one other thing?
Yes.
I have also, we did a financial needs analysis for the company that we do work for, and it is a custom thing to do it. You know, most engaged or married couples will do it, and we did it. It has both of our names on it, and the date of which this was done and the ring is one of the debts. Her social security number is inside of it, and it's needed through her.
Did you fill out this report with him?
Yes, I did. We were going to become business partners.
I asked you whether you filled this out with him.
Yes.
Because it has your information on it.
Yes.
You know what date you filled it out?
I honestly do not.
May 1st. And you say that you threw a ring back at him that he gave you on May 8th.
Yes.
That you hadn't seen the ring before.
Yes.
Baloney! Madam, this lists the debt on the ring. Current debt, ring, $1,000, and the payment on the ring. You want to explain that to me, Miss Roden?
At the time that I filled it out, he only asked me my information. I was sitting in the other room with his mother and his aunt who was over at the time. The rest of the information he filled out by himself. I was not sitting at the table with him when he filled out that information.
So what? You say he gave you the ring on May 8th. He says he gave it to you on April 1st. So what you're suggesting is that he held on to the ring for 5.5 weeks before he gave it to you, right?
Yes.
And then you filled out this application together showing your income, showing your liabilities and everything else, and you knew nothing about the fact that he put in ring monthly bills.
Exactly.
Did you sign this thing? Did you sign it?
On the back of it, yes, I did. I did not.
Get out of here! I don't care whether you lost it, whether you stole it, you're full of baloney. He paid $1,149.55 for the ring. That's what you owe him. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I know there was never a ring, and I know it deep in my heart.
A lie, but, you know, I have all my information to prove it, and I did have witnesses to prove it, too.
He was very pressuring towards me.
Be careful, I trust.
He even wanted to get with one of my best friends. Why would I date him?
Totally untrue.
Don't get into something with anybody before you proceed with anything.
Healthcare worker Ann Sanchez is suing her daughter, 25-year-old homemaker Felicia Ruiz Mendoza, for an unpaid car loan and for the return of stolen property. Felicia is countersuing for the return of car payments, assault, and for filing false charges with Child Protective Services.
Order. All rise. This is case number 185 on the calendar in the matter of Sanchez versus Ruiz Mendoza. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Ms. Sanchez, the defendant is your daughter, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Your cause of action has two parts. One is for car payments that you say you were forced to make when your daughter didn't make payments on a car that she had bought. The second thing is for items of furniture that you bought for her with certain conditions. She reneged on the conditions, and you feel as if she should be responsible for paying for the furniture, or you want it back. So let's deal with the car first. Tell me about this car.
Okay, and she had come back from Alabama in around April, May of 2001. And
How long had she been in Alabama?
About 3-4 months. So she calls me and asks me if I could possibly help her get a car, that she had a job and she needed transportation. So I called my banker and asked him if I could borrow some money to help my daughter buy a car. And he said, well, you already have a $1,500 note now. And I said, well, she agreed that if I could borrow the money, that she would also pay what I had owed, you know, just so she could have transportation.
I don't understand that. Run that by me again.
I already owed $1,500. I had a note myself. I asked him if I could borrow an additional $2,700. He said, well, he could combine the two together, and the payments would be $202.29 for 24 months.
Go ahead.
This year in maybe February, March, I don't know when, she had an accident in the car, and her and her boyfriend had gone to Oklahoma, and she left the Oldsmobile down there and abandoned it. So
up until that time, she had made the car payments?
Yes.
And how much was she making in the car payments?
$202.29.
But that also included your note?
Right.
How much were you paying to the bank on your note, Ms. Sanchez?
I think mine was $85 a month.
So she paid $1,105 on your note?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
And so when she never did go get the car back, when me and my husband went over, it was a $250 deductible. Plus I had to have new tires put on it, and I had to have it all reconditioned.
And then what'd you do with it?
Well, I sold it on August 15th.
Okay, what did you sell it for?
For $2,200.
$2,200 for the car?
The payoff was 19 something.
Say $1,900.
Mm-hmm.
Now you had to put on new tires. And how much did you spend for new tires?
I spent $217, then I had to have all new leg nuts on it. They were $32, $33.
How many payments did you make for her?
June, July. Because she had the accident.
$672 so far is what you owe your daughter. That's what you owe your daughter. She didn't owe you. You owe her. Now tell me about the furniture.
Okay, she has called me. She has been to my house already 4 times this year. She's always got an excuse that her and her boyfriend are fighting and all that. And the time before last that she called, she said that he said he loved her, but he couldn't stand her kids. And so she called me crying and asked me if she could come home. And she did. And she promised she wouldn't go back, but she did. So this last time that she came, I told her that I would help her any way that I could. And I had just refinanced my home, and I was going to have some extra money. And I told her, I said, that I will help you get set up in an apartment. I will pay the deposit. I will help you get the furniture that you need to set it up for you and the boys if you're willing to stay here in Gainesville and not go back to him. Oh, I'm not going back, Mom, I promise. So I bought her a sofa and love seat. There was a TV and VCR that was bought. I paid $150 down deposit on the apartment for her. I have all the stuff here.
And then she went back to the boyfriend?
Yes, she did.
So how long did she stay in the apartment that you lived in?
She never moved in, Your Honor. She went and got the cashier's check and cashed it back in for the money.
Did you cash the check that your mother gave you for a down payment on an apartment?
No, I put the deposit.
What cash did your mother give you for the apartment?
She didn't give me any cash. I put the deposit. I have the receipt. It's in my name and everything.
Did you give her money?
I wrote her a check, Your Honor, for $150 cash because they wouldn't take a personal check at the apartment complex. I gave her a $150 check. She went to the bank, and while she's in the bank, she filled it out into her name, so that way she could get it back.
I believe your mother. I believe your mother. Don't lie. You know, I mean, so far, you're in pretty good shape. Your mother owes you $672. But don't lie to me, because that makes me feel stupid. Did your mother give you a check for $150?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Your Honor, I love my daughter.
Just a minute. I got it. I got the drill. No, I got the drill. What other cash did you give her?
I bought the sofa and love suit for her.
Forget about the sofa and love seat. According to what you just testified to me, you said to her, I'm going to help you get set up, but you have to promise me you're not going to go back to this jerk. And she said to you at the moment, I promise you I'm never going to go back to this jerk.
Yes, sir.
The other part of what you would have to say in order to make that kind of an agreement is, that's binding is, and if you go back to him, you must return to me the furniture or the value of the furniture. Do you understand?
Well, I did say that at one time.
Well, but that's not what you told me. You told me what the conversation was with her. How old are your children?
7 and 5.
Now, Mr. Dreamboat, is he the father of either of these children?
No, ma'am.
What kind of work does he do?
Excuse me?
What word didn't you understand that I just said?
He doesn't work.
Does he not work because he is in some way physically challenged?
No, ma'am. He has, we're trying to file for disability for him.
So he's in some way physically challenged?
He has to have surgery, but since he's older, he can't have tubes in his ear. He has drainage that cause real bad migraines.
How much older is he than you are?
He's 34.
A 34-year-old unemployed somebody who wants to put drains in his ears because he gets headaches and he can't work. Let me ask you this question. And you know, I've been around the block a couple of times. How many times have you called the police with regard to domestic violence in your home? Make sure that I get a correct answer.
1 time.
It'd take a lot for you to call the police to come to your house because...
No, ma'am.
Really not? You mean there was just a little yelling?
No, he yelled at me and I called the police because he was throwing things.
He was being violent around your 2 children who are how old? 5 and 7.
Yes, ma'am.
And he's not the father of those 2 children.
No, ma'am.
How many times have you had to move away because of him?
2 times.
How old are you?
25.
Do your 5 and 7-year-old sons have the same father?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Is he employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Does he have any communication with the children?
No, ma'am.
Is that by his choice?
Yes, ma'am.
Another idiot. So now you're 24, 25, and have chosen 2 losers that I know about.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You want to be a bum magnet. That's your problem. Grow up.
And later today,
All the walls were torn out.
We had talked about it months before.
He said it was the spur of the moment, his exact words.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ann Sanchez says her daughter, Felicia Ruiz Mendoza, owes for an unpaid car loan. Ann says Felicia abandoned the vehicle out of state.
You can't do this anymore. I don't care if you never have a boyfriend the rest of your life. Either that, or take your 2 sons, get down on your knees, beg your mother, say, listen, I made a mistake. Could you please take care of your grandsons? But you're going from one place to another place to another place, going from one loser to another with 2 little boys who are the innocents. Why do you want to do that? I mean, you have a counterclaim that your mother assaulted you when you told her you were leaving again?
I didn't.
I don't even want to hear the story. I don't even want to hear the story. It's a good thing you got a hair left in your head. She doesn't want you, who she loves, or especially 2 innocent grandchildren, to keep going through this migrant lifestyle that you've selected for your children. It's terrible. You made car payments on the car for a year, $200 a month. That's part of your counterclaim. Where can you rent a car for less than $200 a month? Anywhere in the world?
No, ma'am.
Not as far as I know. So you don't get that back. The next part of your counterclaim is that your mother called Child Protective Services on you.
Yes, ma'am.
Probably with good cause. from what I hear and from my life's experience, probably with good cause. You called Child Protective Services? Yeah. Oh, and what did you tell them?
I told them that I was worried about my 2 grandsons, that they were living in a real bad area in town, and that both of them had a drinking problem, and they had the kids in the car going up and down the highway all the time. In October 2000, they were also called because the children were left in the house alone while she was out running around somewhere. She had left them in the care of a small little girl.
This 34-year-old with the tubes in his ears, he has a drinking problem?
Yes, they both do.
Both do.
All the time they're drinking. I mean, they don't buy cans, they buy the big quarts.
Your children here today in court?
No,
Where are they?
they're at home
With whom?
with Carlos.
Carlos isn't well enough to be employed, but he's well enough to watch your 2 sons?
Yes, ma'am.
Other than watching your 2 sons, does Carlos have any biological children of his own?
Yes, ma'am.
How did, you know that I knew that? So at least there's something about Carlos that works. How old are his children?
He, 12, 11, and 10, or 9.
So this bum isn't paying any child support either because he's got tubes in his ears. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you getting my drift?
Yes, ma'am.
You better grow up. You made 2 babies. They are innocent. You're guilty. If you brought them into the world, and you brought them into the world with somebody who's not interested in being their father, then it's your responsibility to be both mother and father to them. And you're not supposed to introduce them to another person who's a bum! You want to be a bum magnet. That's your problem. But you have 2 children. And if you want to be a bum magnet, then you have to do the right thing and you have to turn over custody of your children to your mother. I mean, how do you know that Carlos isn't home right now drinking a big brew and sitting around and watching television or doing whatever he's doing? How do you know that?
I don't.
You don't. You don't know whether he's hitting them. You don't know whether he's angry with them. You don't know whether he's locking them in a closet. You don't know whether he's drunk. You don't know what the hell he's doing. And that's better off for your children than being with their grandmother. Grow up! Your counterclaim's dismissed. So is your claim. And I want to tell you something. You have a responsibility. If you believe that your grandsons are being neglected, you have a responsibility to petition for custody in a family court. Now, you may not get it, but if you don't at least take that step and something happens to your grandsons, you're going to be sorry for the rest of your life. Do you understand? That's all. Bye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I thought the judge was fair. Like I said, it wasn't about money, it was about principle. How, you try to help your children and the way they stab you in the back, more or less.
There was no reason for her to bring me here. I didn't owe her anything.
Like Judge Judy said, he's a bum. He's a no-working alcoholic.
Reservations agent Rosemary Harris is suing her son's former common-law wife, 25-year-old customer service rep Rebecca Cardisco, for a series of unpaid loans. Rebecca says the money was meant for her children's Christmas gifts.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 193 on the calendar in the matter of Harris versus Cardisco.
Thank you, Bert.
Quite welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Miss Harris, is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the son that has 2 children with this lady?
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that the defendant owes you some money for a series of loans. She and your son, I assume, lived together or were together for a period of time because according to what I've read, they have 2 children together.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are your grandchildren?
3 and 1. And John also has 2 stepsons, which were Rebecca's children.
Well, they were never married.
No, but he has custody of them.
He has custody of her 2 children that are not his biological children.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have custody of all 4 children. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What is wrong with you? Shh, quiet.
We're going through custody right now.
No. I could understand when you have a custody dispute involving parents, 2 biological parents, judge has to weigh what's in a child's best interest. But when a judge, unless the judge is educated on Jupiter, gives non-biological children to not even a step-parent, because the 2 of you were never married, to somebody else, there has to be something wrong with you. Do you have a drug problem, an alcohol problem?
I did, Your Honor. I did have a drug problem, and he doesn't have full custody of the children. It's going through social services.
Well, but who do they live with 5 days a week?
Right now, him.
Fine. So, and they go to school from his house?
Yes.
So right now he has custody?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you in a drug program?
Yes, I am.
Did you go into a residential program?
When I get back in town, I am.
So you are not now in a residential drug
No, but
program?
I'm in outpatient program right now.
How long were you using drugs?
For 3 years. After I had my daughter, I got in a car wreck and had a lot of back problems.
Oh, everybody has back problems. But not everybody becomes addicted to drugs. Okay. Tell me about the loans.
Okay, basically met Becky in March of '98 when she was living with another boyfriend in the same complex we did. They broke up and she needed a place to stay, and she finagled her way into my house and lived with us for a couple of months, and then her and John started a relationship. Then the first grandchild was born in 9 of '99, and from that point on, it started being just a big con. Every couple of months, every couple of weeks, she needed this or needed that or needed help with this. Then they broke up for a while, and she had her own apartment and would hold the baby almost hostage. If you want to see your granddaughter, you'll give me this. She had a car wreck in 11 of '99, and that's when she got her back hurt and started taking Vicodin and Zoma and got addicted to them. And then she got pregnant again with my second granddaughter and had her...
Also no testament to his good judgment.
Yes.
Okay.
And she was born in March of 2001.
Now, when she lived with you, she also lived with you with her other 2 children?
Yes, ma'am. I supported her and her 2 children then. And then, after the second baby was born, she really got deep into the drugs. She, at one point, had 8 drug felonies on her. 2 of them were where she used my name to get the drugs. And she was actually able to con her way out of those charges. She got something called drug court, where she gets to go in and talk to somebody once a week. And
at what point did they remove the children?
In May of this year.
Were either of the girls born with any sort of drugs in their system?
No, ma'am.
Were either of them tested?
No, ma'am, so there's no way to know for sure.
Where does your son live now, Miss Harris?
My son lives in Fort Collins with the children, and I travel there every day to help him with the children.
Stand up. Who takes care of the children?
Oh, I do. My mother helps.
You work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
Construction.
How do you support yourself?
Right now, I don't have a place to live. That's why when I go back, I'm going into treatment.
How do you expect her to give you any money?
In July of this year, Becky claimed she got a $50,000 insurance settlement. She went out and bought a new car.
No, I
Did
didn't.
you?
No, I didn't. My grandmother...
Did you get any money?
My grandmother gave me a couple thousand to get me a car so I could get a job.
And what'd you do with the car?
It broke down.
Did you ever tell Miss Harris that you got a settlement for something?
I did tell her I had gotten some money and that I would give her some. I did tell her that. But I didn't have any. And as far as...
You didn't have any what?
I didn't have any money.
So what you told her was a lie?
Yes, Your Honor.
How much money do you owe her?
I do owe her money. She did give me money for Christmas. I'm not going to say I don't owe her anything, because I do.
So I'm asking, how much do you owe her?
I don't know for sure. I mean,
how much did she owe you for Christmas?
For Christmas alone, $800. But prior to that, I gave her $500 for rent in November, $500 again rent for January and and I even had to take loans out from where I worked for me to survive because I was giving her money.
Did you expect to get that money back?
Yes,
Ms.
I
Harris,
did.
my question is, seriously, did you expect to get that money back from her? And I mean, you can get a judgment, but I'm going to ask you honestly.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is she going to get the money from?
She would actually sit there on the phone in front of me and be talking to the insurance guy. Actually sit there talking to him, but she actually wasn't talking to him. And she was having a conversation with nobody. Yes, I'll come down and get that check. At one point, I mean, several times she was supposed to pick up a check. She had John and I believing she got a $50,000 check. She was throwing money around. She went and got a $150 perm. She gave me a $100 bill one time to thank me for watching her kids because she'd been out of the house for almost 3 months. I actually thought she was getting a settlement. Then I find this letter in the house. She settled for next to nothing in November of 2000.
Let me see.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You didn't tell them that you were settling it. You just wanted the money right away.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I know. What? You're doing drugs. You need some money for drugs. Nonsense! Nonsense!
And later today,
if she's the co-signer on a note for your car, then you're supposed to pay for the car.
Right, which I pay her for.
Let's go slowly, Mr. Gaffney. My father didn't raise idiots.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rosemary Harris says her son's former common-law wife, Rebecca Cardisco, owes for several unpaid loans. Rosemary claims Rebecca is a drug addict.
So you settled this accident claim despite the fact that you had an attorney. How much did you settle it for?
I think it was around $800. The attorney said that they couldn't get any more, and if they could, it was going to take a long while.
You didn't tell them that you were settling it. You just wanted the money right away.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I know. That's what you did. You had a lawyer. They got fed up with you because you settled with this company after they had made some expenditures. But you're doing drugs. You need some money. You need some money for drugs. Look, as far as I can see, she owes you for 3 months' rent and $800 for Christmas. She doesn't know how much she owes you. That's $2,300. Has she, I assume, not given you any child support for the 3 children?
Not as of yet, no.
Have you worked in the last 5 years?
Yes, Your Honor, and he did receive child support last month.
How much?
I gave him $500.
From where?
Between him and his mother.
From where?
I got some money from my grandmother.
From your grandmother?
She gave me some money to give him for the children. He said that he needed it for the children. And I have a job.
Do you use drugs or do you sell them occasionally?
I don't do either. I've been clean.
Judge, there is a judgment now. She's supposed to pay $575 a month.
Good. That's what she's supposed to do. Somebody else is taking care of your children. In the meantime, she owes you $2,300. Miss Cardisco, I wish you good luck in residential treatment. If you want it to be successful, you have to stay there. You can't go in there for 6 weeks, or for 4 weeks, or for 12 weeks and say it's over. You have to stay there. What is it, a year or 18 months? Is that what they want you to stay?
60 days. 60 days.
Nonsense! Nonsense! Bert and I were in family court between us for more years than you're alive. And no residential program where you just go for 60 days is going to keep you off drugs permanently. You have to go into a drug-free environment for a long time. You've been on drugs for at least 3 years. Don't kid yourself. 60 days is not going to do it. 30 days is not going to do it. You have to do it. You have children. You made children. They need you. Do you get it? They need you. Stay with it. Find the right place and stay there. You're a young woman. How old?
25.
25. Got a lot of years ahead. They can be miserable. You can have a miserable life or you can have a happy life. You still have another 50 years of happiness or you have 50 years of misery. Choice is yours. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Becky's nothing but a con.
I do have problems and I have issues, but they're not any better than I am. Any better.
I'm the primary caregiver because Becky's a drug addict.
I never kept her grandchildren from her. I was afraid she was going to try to take off or do something with them. I didn't know what she's capable of. I mean, she just made me look like an idiot in there.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of D'Antuono versus Holdren. Step forward, please.
26-year-old hairstylist Stephanie D'Antuono is suing her ex-boyfriend, personal trainer Thaddeus Holdren, for an unpaid loan to buy a car. Thaddeus says the money didn't become a loan until they broke up.
Mr. Antuono, I've read your complaint. You claim a loan to the defendant who was your live-in boyfriend for a period of time. Is that right?
Yes.
It was a loan for a car?
Correct.
And any other expenses?
Yes, for work that needed to be done on the car.
Mr. Holdren said there was never a loan. His position is that he played the role of house husband.
Yes.
That you have a child that he took care of, and he was a personal trainer. He gave up some time in order to be able to accommodate your schedule, and there was never talk of a loan until the two of you separated. So, when did you start to live together?
We began to live together only after I had given him the loan. It was in August.
Tell me about the loan.
Thaddeus approached me about loaning him some money for a car that he wanted to buy. I had the funds to help him out, and we discussed it in detail. That
what were the details?
How he had to pay me back. There was no confusion as far as...
Well, no, don't tell me there was no confusion. Just tell me what the agreement was. You said it was very specific, so tell me the agreement.
I agreed to loan him the money if he agreed to pay me back in full.
Is that as specific as it went?
Pretty much, yes.
Go ahead.
He agreed to pay me within a certain amount of time.
Well, that's more specific. What was the amount of time?
A couple of months.
Okay.
And when he didn't, he told me he was having some problems and wasn't going to be able to pay me at that certain time. So I was upset, but I agreed to allow him more time if he would give me payments. whenever he had money, if he could give me some cash or, whatever he was able to do.
So?
So he didn't. He failed to pay me.
When did you move in with him?
He moved in with me.
When did he move in with you?
That was about a year later.
So 1 year later, he's made no payments on this loan, and then you move in together.
Well, he...
Just answer my
I'm
question.
sorry. Yes, that's right.
Okay. And you lived together for a year?
No, we did not. We only lived together for about 2.5 months.
Your Honor, I lived with her longer than that.
He was at my house on a regular basis, but he did not live there.
Fine. When did that start?
Probably around the time that I gave him the loan. He was staying there maybe a couple nights a week.
More than a couple nights, Your Honor.
That's not correct.
It's over 2 years since this loan was made.
Yes.
And over that period, you have not gotten any payments.
He did pay me $150.
When?
In April of 2001.
Is that right, sir?
I don't know if it was 2001, but I paid her $150. But that's not including everything I did for her and her son.
What did you give her $150 for, Mr. Holdren?
Because, if I'm with her, or living with her, whatever, I expect to do something, taking care of her son and taking care of stuff around the house and stuff.
That doesn't answer my question, Mr. Holdren. What was the $150 for?
Just for her.
Well, tell me how that came about, the $150 payment.
She gave me the money and things happened. Hold on.
Mr. Holdren, you're trying to think about the right answer. I don't want you to think about the right answer, sir. I want you to think about the truthful answer. You said to me, I gave her $150 when I asked you what it was for. You did a song and dance. Now I'm asking you the circumstances surrounding you giving her this $150 in March.
Well,
if you say I don't remember what it was for or the surrounding circumstances around it, I will understand that.
Well, I gave her money a couple times, so the $150 is like me giving her money on a regular. Not on a regular, but I gave her money, like any other boyfriend would do. It wasn't like I was giving her $2,000 or like big money, but
Do you remember the circumstances surrounding the $150 payment? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
Then tell me what they were.
It was payment for money that I loaned him.
That's not what I asked you. That is the conclusion.
The circumstances?
If you don't remember, say I don't remember. Remember that I will test you. If you don't remember, say it. If you remember, tell me.
I don't remember.
Did he give you any other money during the course of your relationship over the last 2 years?
He paid me $100 after our relationship had ended. This was this past April.
What was the $100 for?
For payment from the loan that I gave him.
Did you give her $100 after you separated?
Yes.
For what?
That was for part of her thinking that I owed her all that money. So $100.
That
was part of me owing her the money.
That was part of her thinking that you owed her the money from the loan?
Right.
Oh, good, that makes it easier. So you did, Mr. Holdren, make a payment to her for this $2,000 loan.
Right.
And you made at least one payment. Is that right?
Right.
And that was made within the past year or so?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to allow you in 30 seconds or less, Mr. Holdren, explain to me why this was not a loan and you don't owe her any money.
Okay, I'll start off with this. We made an agreement when we met. Well, after we met, she has a son. He's 4, well, he was 4 at the time. And her job is very demanding, and she has different hours every day, like early in the morning sometimes and late in the evening sometimes. And her son goes to school early in the morning. She couldn't take him to school, so I would take him to school, get him up, get him dressed, pick him up from daycare, bring him back with me, and wait till she gets off, and he'd hang out with me, whatever, for the period of time, whatever day it was.
So I'm listening. Keep going.
Yeah. I did everything. I was like a kindergarten cop with him. This whole thing to me is just like she was pimping me through the whole thing. Like, she's my female pimp.
That's a nasty thing to say.
That's how it was, because I was doing everything, but she still just seemed like I owed her this whole $2,500.
Well, let me ask you this question, Mr. Holdren. How much rent did you pay?
I didn't pay rent at her house.
How much did you contribute on a regular basis for food for the house?
Depending if I went out to eat or...
No, in the house.
No.
How much did you contribute regularly towards the utilities?
None.
So you were basically living rent-free. You had no expenses.
Yeah, and I have my own apartment too.
Where is your apartment?
At the time it was on the other side of town from where she lived at, on the west side.
Which side is nicer? Her
Well,
side.
Yeah.
Mr. Holdren, anything else you want to tell me, sir?
I just felt like I don't owe her the whole $2,500. I mean,
So you don't think you owe her the whole $2,500?
right.
Tell me what part of the $2,500 you think you owe her.
It would really be hard to say because
Well, I want you to think hard. I mean, it was your statement that I don't owe her the whole $2,500.
I don't know, because the time that I put into the relationship, not only with her, but her son too, it was like, I couldn't really tell because I was working in the morning and in the afternoon, and my schedule was flexible because I was a trainer, so I, arrange it where, I could make it a better...
Mr. Holdren,
Yeah.
what part of the $2,500 do you think you should be given credit for, sir?
I don't know.
So I guess you'll have to leave it up to me, right?
Well, I was hoping you'll feel my side of the story as far as me taking care of her son and everything. Because
No, Mr. Holdren, I'm going to make it very, very easy for you, sir. If there is a contract that provides, even an oral one, that you loaned me this money for the car, and I'm going to work it off by taking care of your son at $1.75 an hour while I'm taking care of him, that will be my contribution, so we're going to take that off the car loan. That's an agreement. But after the fact, you don't make that sort of an agreement. You don't sit back there and scratch your head and say, well, I did all these things for her, therefore, I shouldn't have to owe her that much on what was originally a loan.